The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.
Yo, welcome back to another Keefer and Kurre Sports. I love this, by the way. When we started doing our show, I guess it's been a couple of years ago, and I'm so blessed to do a show with a person that is about my age, that has the same pedigree and equity in the broadcasting business as I do, because you come highly respected, at least from my standpoint. And so I sometimes I'll have an idea, and I got nothing to bounce it off of, and I'm like, ooh, that's a Kip thing right there. That's what we're going to do today. How are you, my friend? I know you've been doing a lot of traveling. Sorry about your Las Vegas nights. They get taken in 6.
I'm still representing the banner in the background. The Golden Knights made it all the way to the finals with 2 weeks to go in the season. Wasn't even a sure thing they were going to make the playoffs. So you got to kind of count your blessings. It is disappointing because they won game 1 of the finals on the road. Then they had the lead late in game 2. They could have been in a commanding position. All things considered, to get eliminated like they did in 6 games is very disappointing. I would like to point out, though, I attended 2 playoff games and I went 2-0, Tony, so I did my part.
You need to make sure you show up at every single one of them. By the way, and I'm sure you know this because your son works for the Las Vegas Sun, does fantastic work. Case Keefer, and of course he's on our show every single week on ABC 3340, the Birmingham.
And he's going to be here 4th of July weekend for our show live in the studio, so I can't wait for that.
Wonderful. Birmingham Racecourse Casino does fantastic work. What was Vegas's future bet on winning a championship before the season started? Do you remember? Can you give me an idea?
They were kind of in the upper third, but at the bottom of the upper third, I want to say they were like plus 275. So. Yeah. It was reasonable, but they really weren't expected to get this far and kind of overachieved a little bit. They've had goaltender problems. Aiden Hill, who led them to a Stanley Cup in 2023, came back from an injury from last year, and he just was not good. He just got shelled. They had to scramble around. They played a couple backups, and they ended up playing this Carter Hart, who was
young kid, right? He's
young, had broken in. Yeah, with Philadelphia, had some kind of personal scandal and was out of the league for a while. The Golden Knights gave him a chance to come back, and he ended up playing the last 26 games in a row. And I think it kind of showed in the finals. I think he was kind of mentally and physically exhausted. That's a lot of hockey to play, 26 games in a row without a break. And I think at the end of the day, goaltending was really what did them in.
Yeah. I want to talk about some hockey. I want to talk about some NBA. And believe it or not, I do want to talk about not X and O so much, but I do want to talk about some soccer. I know that you've
I've got some thoughts on that today myself.
You have done some kid perspectives on that, and I know where you stand, and I get it. I've said it for years.
Let me clarify. The World Cup is a great event. It's amazing to see all of these countries. I mean, where else do you see Tunisia and Switzerland squaring off on a field of play?
Cape Verde.
Well, that's what I want to talk about today. I've done some research. I've got some information for you on what they pronounce it as Cape Verde. Mm-hmm. What they accomplished in this thing is what makes the event great. My problem is the game itself of soccer sucks. I don't like it. It's boring. I don't like it. But this is a fantastic event, and I give it some big props. And I also want to talk about the reaction of so many of these foreign fans coming here to America for the first time and seeing our country. And I wish Americans would listen to what they're saying, because we take for granted that we live on the greatest country on earth.
There's no doubt. Something that really bothers me, I love analogies, something that really pisses me off, and my kids do it to me all the time, is when I'm eating something and they look at what I'm eating, they go, "Ooh, that's disgusting. That's just gross." And I'm like, you don't ever want to look at someone's meal and say that's disgusting, because obviously it's like talking about, passing gas during dinner. It's just something you don't do. It's just rude. If you don't like it, you don't want to eat it, then don't eat it. And that's what I always say. Well, it's a good thing that I don't make you eat this, because back in my day, we ate whatever my mom made. If we had once a month, We had liver and onions. I hated liver and onions.
Ugh.
I would gag. It was a 2-hour ordeal. I would sit there for 2 hours and I'd be in tears. Even when I was like 16, I hated it. My dad loved it. My dad ate raw ground beef and sardines and all kinds of, no, that was his snack stuff, right? He didn't make me eat those things. But yeah, whatever my mom made, we ate. And if you didn't like it, you go to bed. You didn't go back outside. It's 6 o'clock. If you don't eat your dinner, you can go back to your bed. And I did that one time, and I was like, I'll never do that again. I couldn't believe my mom and dad didn't feed me. I thought I was going to call HR or something. But I mean, I think that's the rudest thing. So I'm not going to sit there and ballyhoo and give soccer fans a hard time because I don't really understand their sport. To your point, there were 4 games yesterday, and all 4 we found out nothing. All 4 were ties.
Yeah,
I mean, day 5, 4 games, 4 ties.
At least 2 of them were 1-1.
If you're going to have a shootout because someone's got to win, then you might as well go ahead and do a shootout in the World Cup because it is one of the largest, if not the biggest sporting event. But I will say this: the one thing that I love about sports, and I know that you'll agree with me here. The one thing I love about sports, whether it's a world war, whether it's 9/11, whether it's a school shooting, whether it's a wedding on that weekend, whatever it is, man, sports bring us together.
Yes.
Okay. And even out in LA, where you had Iranian fans, I think we could go a whole show on that. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that too. Iranian fans who appreciate the fact that the United States has gone in and tried to end this war. And I guess it's over. They're saying it's so. I don't know. It's
everything's signed now.
It's a memorandum. It's a memorandum of understanding. It's not a contract. It's a memorandum of understanding.
Yeah,
so
the formal ceremony is Friday to sign the actual document.
So we'll see if they actually sign it, and I hope they do. But to see Iranian fans, they want to be free. They want to live the way the United States people do. They appreciate that fact. But the fact that they were upset when Iran tied the score and then they switched through the game when they tied the game up at 2 and they started applauding for it. And I was like, it's okay. It's your country, for God's sakes. You may not like the way it runs. A lot of people don't like the way our country's running right now, but it doesn't mean you can't not love your country and what you're doing. And when it comes to sports, these kids aren't politicians. I don't know if there's anyone on the Iranian soccer team that has gotten out. Chances are, if you say anything bad about the Iranian regime, you're going to get killed. So they probably don't do that. But these kids are just wanting to play soccer. They're wanting to play a sport. And that's what makes sports just so wonderful. I can remember after 9/11 when we shut things down. We didn't play Major League Baseball. We didn't play anything. And I remember being on the air going, this is exactly what the terrorists want. They want to disrupt our life.
Absolutely.
They want to scare us. They want to put fear in our hearts. And that's exactly what they're doing. And the one thing that we needed the most was Saturday Night Live, that first Saturday night. We needed David Letterman back on television. We needed to laugh. We needed to watch our sports. We didn't need to shut the whole thing down. And I realized a lot of people were like, well, it was disrespectful. And I get that. There's a period of time where you have to say, hey, listen, shut it down. Let's respect that. And then at one point, everyone got on the same page and started the same thing. But it's just a wonderful thing. Sports are so good. It just brings us together. Hell, we got the best rivalry in the world in Auburn, Alabama. And every single year we raise millions of dollars for all kinds of different needs when Auburn, Alabama fans get together. Whether we're poisoning trees or not, we do live together. We live across the street from each other, but we do talk to each other with exception of that one day of the year. So if you love the soccer thing, I know you wanted to go a little bit more off on it. I got a couple other things I want to go off, but your soccer thing, the Cape Verde thing, I thought was just so cool.
Well, this is a grab bag show today. We're just
go for it, man. Do it. I love it.
I have seen a lot of reports and seen a lot of reaction to fans that are in this country. From all over the world. They had a montage of sound bites of people walking the streets of some of our greatest cities going, this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen. Look at the food choices. Look at all the all the exciting things that are going on here. I love America. This is amazing. I've always imagined it. I mean, to hear all of these people from all these corners of the world just praising the country and what we take for granted, I think Americans need to take a step back and pay attention because our circumstance here is not ideal in terms of, the fact that we have some ideological and political divisions, but you said it best just a minute ago. That doesn't mean that you can't have allegiance to your country. Just because more people in your country right now lean to an idea and an attitude and an ideology that might be different than yours, the greatness of this country is you can rally your forces and try to influence the next election. That's what a representative republic, a democracy does. And at times when you're not in power, you don't trash your country and your other countrymen for having a different opinion. And people around the world that are marveling at what we have here, I really, really sincerely wish that we could stop doing this, stop making each other enemies just because we have philosophical and ideological differences. It really is long-term damaging to really what is the most outstanding country that ever conceived, because our country, and this is not supposed to be a political lecture, but I'm just reacting to what I'm seeing from these people visiting from all over the world. And, Americans need to pay attention, because it's time to stop all this nonsense that every syllable that comes out of the mouth of somebody that you don't agree with is hate speech and all that kind of stuff. It's just a difference of opinion, and we're not all the same, and we're never all going to be the same. But one thing we have in common, we live in the greatest country on earth.
There's no doubt. And the fact that we can't even get on the same page to celebrate our 250th birthday.
It's terrible.
It's like we're spoiled. We're stinking spoiled. I don't know. I'm so happy I was born here. Love is blind, I guess, for other people that are living in other countries, never been here. Like, I'm good where I'm at. That's wonderful. For people that sit there and say, well, if this happens, I'm moving, then so be it. Then get out, because how well you got it. But we're like a 2-year-old. We're like a 2 or 3. We're going through our terrible 2s. You look at other countries that are 6, 7, 8, 900,000 years old. They've got bars older than our country. And it's just amazing how much we tit for tat. And really, you look at, say, France, for example, right now their inflation is 14.7%. We're sitting there bitching and moaning that we're 4%. Oh my gosh, 4%. Now what are we going to do with the interest rates? Are we going to do? And they're sitting there going, guys.
Gas is $4 a gallon. I can't afford my $15 cappuccino now.
Exactly. I mean, it's like, come on. I mean, seriously.
Just drink a regular cup of coffee and shut up.
Really, there's no doubt. Shut up. I think.
And I got it. This is a sidebar, but I saw a lot of social media last Friday when SpaceX went public. Elon Musk became the first ever trillionaire in the history of our existence. And there's all kinds of backlash of, well, I'm struggling economically and everybody I know is, and this guy's got enough money for 200 lifetimes. It's just not fair. It's just not right. This is ridiculous. Let's not resent a guy for reaching the ultimate plateau of the American dream that has nothing to do with your financial struggles. Isn't it just kind of ridiculous that we resent a guy for being ultra successful?
And by the way, employees, I think the last time I saw like 450,000 people nationwide. This guy is one of the biggest bosses we know outside Amazon. More people work for him in all the different industries and things he does. I mean, but it's amazing that we're actually, we used to say that's billion with a B. Now we're saying it's trillion with a T. I never thought we'd get to the point where we talk about
and
T.
He's been giving away stock options to people, to even some middle management people for a lot of years. 4,000 people in his organization last Friday became millionaires because of that stock purchase, that stock offering. So it's not like he's not taking a lot of people with him.
I want to talk a little bit NBA. I thought it was a great series. It was done in 5. I don't know too many people that had the Knicks in 5. I remember Charles Barkley after game 3, when they came back from 21 down, or actually it was 29 down. That was game 2, actually.
Game 4.
He's game 4. I'm sorry, and basically said it's over. And I think Shaquille O'Neal said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's the Knicks are going to win. It's over. It's over." And he's like, "I'll bet your house against your house." And
yeah,
back and forth.
I said it was over. I got interviewed Saturday after our radio show, and I was asked, "Can the Spurs come back?" And I said, "No, the same thing that got the Spurs to this point, Tony, being young and just brash and fearless, it was also their biggest vulnerability, because when that lead melted down in the fourth quarter the other night, they just went into absolute panic mode. They're jacking up. They at one point when that lead was diminishing, they shot 8 consecutive threes.
They were up by 20 and they were shooting threes. And
it was crazy.
And listen, if they
this is a young coach, and if
they made two of those, everything changes. I get that. Listen, you can't have it both ways, okay? And the NBA is set up where you can't run the clock out. It's so short that it doesn't make any difference. In college basketball, we talk about prevent defenses. We see this in college football all the time, where you're trying to run the clock out. You're up by 20 with 10 minutes left. The next thing you know, it's a tie ball game. The NBA is set up where you have to run and gun. You have to shoot the basketball. So to sit there and say, I'm going to run 20 seconds off and then run your offense. Basically, you've got to run your offense the minute you get in on that side of the floor. For him to be shooting threes like that, I like that, because I didn't want to see them sit on the lead, because that gets so many teams in trouble. Unfortunately, like you said, they missed 8 3-pointers in a row. 16, 29, 12, 12, and 14. Those were the leads that the San Antonio Spurs had over the world champion New York Knicks in the 5 games. 14-point lead in game 1, 12-point lead in game 2, 12-point game in game 3, 29-point lead in game 4, and they were up 16 in game 5.
Yep.
And I'm wondering to myself, Mitch Johnson obviously is coming in filling some pretty damn big shoes.
Yep.
Greg Popovich, 16 times. I had to do a little research. I love doing research. I love doing research for this show because it's so much fun. I love the numbers. Greg Popovich has coached over 1,600 basketball games in his career, okay? 16 times in his entire career was he up by 20 and lost. So I went back and looked at some AI. And according to Google AI, since the inception of the 3-point shot, because that changed everything.
Completely.
If you're up by 20 or more in the first quarter, you win 75% of the time. Second quarter, 79% of the time. If you're up by 20 or more points in the third quarter, you win 90% of the time.
Wow.
And you win 98.9% of the time if you're up by 20 or more points in the fourth quarter. You shouldn't lose a game when you're up by 20, let alone 12 or 16 or 29 or anything else. And I'm wondering why Mitch Johnson came into a situation where in his first year at the age of 39, he took over for Pops and he takes his team to a championship for the first time in I don't know how many years. So I'm not saying fire the guy. I'm not knee-jerking anything. No. But at some point, you have to sit there and look at your team and go, guys, we had a team that won the NBA championship that was 13-0 going into the playoffs, that had won 13 games in a row. We had them down double digits every game. What the hell happened? Can you tell me what happened? What did they get tight? What happened? How? Because if you're up by double digits 5 games in a row, you're going to win at least 3 or 4 of those. Tell me what happened there.
It's just, once again, the same thing that got them to the finals. Their youth, their brashness, their confidence also was their Achilles heel, because a young team in that situation does not react and make, I'm not advocating they should have run clock. I don't mind you playing your style, but let's face it, they have a 7'6" megastar, and he was barely touching the ball. He was jacking up some of the threes.
There was.
But I mean, you've still got to run some kind of patterned offense, dump the ball down low, give your superstar a chance to operate in the paint. The coach should have said, okay, look, we got to get back to Wemby here. All you other guys out that are shooting threes. When it started to erode, I mean, a veteran team is gonna make plays in that situation and get to the line because your greatest ally there is stopping the clock and shooting free throws. And the Knicks shot a lot of them. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back because before the playoffs began, I said, watch out for the Knicks because Jalen Brunson is the most underappreciated superstar in the league that nobody knows how clutch and how good this guy is. Yeah. And Jalen Brunson now had his coming out party. I don't think I can get away with saying he's obscure anymore. But, I saw this guy play enough and win games where I don't watch a lot of NBA regular season. I don't think it's a very good product. I think so many nights you sit guys and they kind of mail it in, and it's just about getting to the dance. And if you get in the playoffs, you're good. But I saw several games this year just by happenstance where Brunson brought them back in games where, like you said, they're down double digits in the fourth quarter, and this guy is just cool as the other side of the pillow in the clutch. And I think he was the difference in the series. I don't think the Spurs, even as great as Wemby is and is going to be, he's a young guy. He said it's the hardest thing ever that he's endured in his life to really let the series get away. But they didn't have a Jalen Brunson and the Knicks did, and that's why the Knicks are the champions.
No, there's a couple things. I mean, we can break it down. I mean, the Fox play, where he should have brought the ball back out, instead went to the hoop. And obviously did not get fouled and missed the shot. It's easier said than done when you're sitting there looking at the basket and it's 3 feet away from you, man.
When that starts to collapse, it's tough to stop it.
It really is. Something else that was kind of interesting too, and I don't even like to go here, but I thought it was interesting because it's growing some legs. But did you see what Wembanyama did prior to Game 5 during the national anthem and what he did in the first 4 games?
I did not.
He had his, I'm like, what is the big deal? But it's been blowing up all morning. He evidently crossed his arms during the national anthem during Game 5. He also crossed his arms during Game 1, and he was not seen on his line in Games 2 and 3 and 4. And people are saying, and Victor, of course, is from France. And I know that some people, maybe perhaps that's why he got egged, which, by the way, was another New Yorkers. That's what they are, I guess. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
I hate that. And I hate the videos of them just beating the hell out of everyone that had a Spurs jersey on and stuff like that. It's one of the greatest cities in the world. Act like it. Act like you've been there before.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really interesting. And you're going to probably see a lot of stories about that over the next couple of days because I didn't realize that crossing your arms during the national anthem was somewhat of a tiff. I know that, you're supposed to hold your thumb and you're supposed to put it over your heart and you're supposed to take your hat off and all those other different things.
Yeah, but if you're not an American, I don't have any problem. I don't expect him to. I expect him to stand at attention, but I think you can stand at attention with your arms crossed. I mean, yeah. I don't view that as blatant disrespect. If he turned his back or sat down or took a knee, that's different. Crossing your arms, I don't think that's a heinous offense, and I'm the most pro-American guy you know.
Yeah. Wanted to ask you another thing, and certainly feel free to back it up and move through whatever sport you want to talk about. That's why I love just kind of catching up with you. I feel like I could just talk about everything that I've been wanting to talk to someone about. As of Thursday, if you're 15 years of age or younger, you cannot be on social media in France. As a parent, that's interesting. I like it because a lot of parents who don't want to parent or having a difficult time parent or they don't want the government in their house. They don't want the government in their house. But if for God's sake, so you want to shut down TikTok for a couple of days, I'm okay with that. That's one less thing I got to worry about. Okay. So my 14-year-old daughter obviously is on social media. She tells us that she's not allowed to post things. She can be on it and look. But I know that she posts things. I know she told me the other day that she posted something. I was like, okay, it was a picture of her taking a bite of a potato chip or some I don't. It was some stupid thing on X or something. Anyway, and so I'm sitting there going, that is really interesting. First of all, I don't know how that you keep an eye on that, and obviously there's all kinds of different ways around that. Kids, if they want to be on social media, parents, I got news for you. It doesn't matter how much you've got their phone locked down or whatever. There are all kinds of different apps that they can beat around. They're super smart kids.
Yeah, because keep in mind, they're smarter than you are in this area. So you can have somebody can assure you that, now they're closed out. They'll find a way. I've got a 33-year-old son who was finding a way when he was like 10, and he's still finding a way.
Yeah.
He can fix anything on the internet, anytime, any challenge.
It's crazy. But I did want to get your thoughts. I have a 14-year-old, so this affects me directly if we lived in France.
God bless you.
This is not the first country. This is not the first country has done this. This is, I think, the 6th or 7th country now that
it's happening. And there's states there's states here in the U.S. that have legislation pending to do the same thing.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, you're a patriotic guy. You're a parent. You don't like the government in your bedroom.
No.
But for God's sakes, this is something that is a really, really difficult time and difficult thing to wrap your hands around as a parent. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? At least it's setting a bar for our kids. And at least maybe if it's a deterrent for some, to sit there and say that every kid under the age of 16 is being negatively affected by social media, I think is obviously broad brushing. We're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I know what they mean. I certainly understand what Parliament is saying in France. That this it's not going to kill them not to be on it. I don't think. But as a professional, from my standpoint and from your standpoint, it's a necessary evil. It's something we need to do because it's free. We need to get people out there to know who we are. And obviously there's millions and millions of folks who have made a living, just, having a following, and being an influencer on social media. At my age, I'm kind of like, it's kind of past my days. I still put stuff out every single day. I do all of our shows, and you can see Keefer and Kurre Sports on a little bit later on this afternoon on TKR, wherever we go. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And as a parent in France, how would you feel about this?
Well, I would not have liked it from the standpoint of, I don't want somebody else managing my kids. I think being a parent and again, I don't want to criticize anybody that has kids. It's a challenge. You've got to work at it. You cannot be indifferent. You have to be involved in your kids' lives. And I know that's difficult because a lot of kids don't want their parents involved. But, I tried and I think fairly successfully to be aware of everything my two sons were into. Now, I had sons. You've got a daughter, God bless you. I don't know if I would have handled it differently. So I'm probably not a good person to ask in terms of raising young ladies and all of I think they have a lot more vulnerability in that environment than boys do.
Agreed.
But I always tried to be aware of who they were talking to and make sure, and again, never in a lecturing fashion, but just relate experiences that I'd had where I'd made some bad choices and trusted some people that I shouldn't have trusted. I kind of built into them from the very beginning that, they needed to keep me up to date and keep their mom up to date of everything they were doing and everybody they were talking to. And, it's just communication and it's connection with your kids. And too many parents just want to use social media and the internet and iPads and laptops as a nanny. And that's where you're going to get into trouble. If you are not up to date with your kids and what they're into and what they're doing, then you are taking a big chance that someone else is going to negatively or even harmfully influence them.
Should we make the same rule, or at least in France, for AI? I think AI is beautiful, is incredible, is mind changing, but I think it's as dangerous as anything we've ever seen. I cannot. I got on it again this weekend. It is addictive. It is super hard. And then we actually did a show on this, and you actually had your voice emulated through AI. It was amazing because I felt like I was talking to Kip Keefer, and I wasn't. It's addictive. I mean, it's like that friend. I mean, these people that I know there's friends of mine that can't wait to get home from work because they can't wait to talk to their AI when they get home. I can name a couple of guys who are very, very successful, who are in their 40s, who have admitted to me, I can't wait to get home from work because I can talk to someone who understands me, that has my back, that supports me in what I'm doing, can argue with me, in a way that is fair. It doesn't get nasty, it doesn't get personal, it doesn't get dirty because they don't know enough about me. Oh my gosh, it's like really.
I test AI occasionally just to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. I had I'm on a big kick right now of weight loss and fitness. I'm really proud of myself because I have been really making time every day, almost an hour a day for the last couple of weeks to really seriously work out, which I haven't done since I was like 25.
Good for you.
I've been running. I've been doing crunches. I've been doing a lot of free weight lifts. I don't have access to the gym here in my palace of solace out here in the suburbs, but I've really been trying. But I asked AI recently, okay, tell me about human growth hormone and all that stuff. What are the pros? What are the cons? Is that anything that has validity in terms of transforming yourself? And it basically gave me a lot of negatives and not that many positives of things. And I said, okay, I know that, you can get prescribed from a doctor for certain conditions, but there's got to be places kind of in the dark corners of the globe where you can get some of this stuff that you think it'll help you. And it said, I would advise you not to do that.
Wow.
Which was good. I mean, I asked it that question as a test to say, oh, yeah, if you want, I can search some black market locations. It didn't do that. It said I wouldn't go that direction because basically without a prescription or without doctors, directives, it's illegal to obtain that stuff. And getting it through the mail can even get you in trouble with mail fraud and things like that. I mean, it gave kind of a cautionary tale. So I like to test it with questions like that every once in a while. So maybe they are on a little bit better trek because we had some early experiences with it where we saw teenagers, commit suicide and things because that these and again, to your friends, this is not a person. This is a machine. It is not a human being. That
should say a lot about their marriages and what kind of situation they have at home.
Well, yeah.
There's all these. There's hundreds of different AI friends. I don't even know what the name of these particular companies or apps are. But there are friend AIs, and you can go in and you can tell them, okay, I want someone who's black. I want someone who's 33. Yeah. I want someone who thinks that off-color jokes are funny. You can go in there and be as specific as you possibly want to be.
Yep.
Throw it in there, and that person will come popping out. It's crazy.
And the scary thing too is really lonely people are going to start turning to that thing for like romantic. It's a soulless machine. It is not a person, but they've done such a great job. I've used a couple of different platforms, and the guy talking back to you is so supportive and, patting you on the back and, hey, if you want to ever chat about anything, just dial me up. But I always think, well, this is a great resource. I like it just to get information because with my vision issues, it's difficult for me to do real research. So just like today, we started off talking about Cape Verde, which I wouldn't know. I said, tell me about this Cape Verde. Where the hell is it? It's off the coast of Africa. It's a nation. Get ready for this. The total population estimated 525,000. 525,000 is the population of Cape Verde. Atlanta metro area right now is at 7.8 million. God only knows what LA and New York and all those places. I just happen to know Atlanta off the top of my head, but 525,000. They play Spain in the World Cup and play them to a scoreless tie. Oh boy, that was a thriller, I'm sure. But Spain had 27 shots on goal. And remember, Al Del Greco says, it's not scoring, Tony. It's the chance to
it's the
score.
opportunity to score. And their goalie, what is like 40 years old?
I think so.
Yeah.
But that's with only 520,000 people to choose from, to field any team that's competitive is an absolute miracle. It's unbelievable. And that's, if I'm going to say anything good about the World Cup, that's the element of it that's really kind of cool, that you can have some smaller countries. I mean, the U.S. beat Paraguay and everybody's making a big deal about it. We have 350 million people in America. They've got 7.1 million in Paraguay. Yep. So, and their economy absolutely sucks. You've got Iran war-torn, just in devastation, but they're still fielding a soccer team to send over.
I mean, it's just think about that. I mean, think about, every night about 3:00 in the morning, you hear the sirens, you got to get up and go down to the basement, and then you got to pack your bag and go to the United States to play. It's just
unbelievable. But you mentioned the evils of Iran. They had a champion silver medal world-class 19-year-old female weightlifter. She was executed for protesting in the streets when all this blew up, at the end of last year. They actually shot her dead in the street. This young woman who is so amazingly accomplished, and there's a bunch of stories like that. Remember the Iranian soccer team, or was it the soccer? Whatever. One of the Iranian female teams, some of the girls refused to sing along with the Iranian national anthem at whatever event they were attending in Australia, and a lot of them have disappeared now. So I mean, it is a horrible, evil regime, but sports is one of the great, salves and remedies to even abusive societies. If emphasis is put on sports, that kind of changes the focus. And hopefully now with all the changes going on there, the citizens will rise up and demand some more representative government instead of these 8th century lunatics who believe it's their destiny to destroy every other religion in the world. Because if you don't believe what they believe, you don't deserve to live, Tony.
True. Well, read the Bible and it'll tell you right there what's going to happen.
And that's only one strand. People say, well, you're just anti-Muslim or anti-Islamic. This is just one group of them. This is the Shias, the real primitive that take the 8th century writings of Muhammad literally, that everybody who doesn't believe in Allah and all of the principles of the Quran are an infidel and they're not deserving to live. That goes completely in the face of what America's founded on: freedom of religion, freedom of worship. We're taught to respect each other's beliefs. And I think overall in America, there's some anti-Semitism now because of this Middle East situation. But the bottom line is, in America, we can't be bringing people into this country who don't believe that you have the right to worship, just as you give them the right to worship in any manner that they want. And that's one of the major differences, one of the real founding principles of this country.
If you listen real carefully, I think it just happened a few minutes ago, you could hear an airplane flying over the house. My house, where I rent out here in Russell Woods, is in the flight pattern of the Bessemer Airport. Okay. And I know this airport quite well because there's a bar that I used to work out called The Hangar that is still out there. I don't drink anymore, so I don't go out there. And it's a great little place if you want to go out there. It's where all the pilots and stuff go. But I also knew that airport because back in 2003, 2004, something like that, as a gift to my then wife, Nancy, I took her to the Bessemer Airport for this thing called a boogie weekend. And a boogie weekend was $79. You go with someone and you can tandem jump out of an airplane as many times as you like. We only jumped once. I said, once is enough for me. But you had people jumping 16, 17, 18 times during the weekend for $79. You pack your own parachute. You do your own thing. That's one thing that no one ever does for you. You always pack your own parachute. And when you go up in an airplane for the first time or the second time or the 100th time, someone inevitably always says this right before you jump. What's the worst that can happen? The plane go down?
Yeah.
Because you're in an airplane and you have a parachute on. And for those folks up in Butler County, Missouri, who were killed in this horrible crash, I just can't. I can't imagine, because everyone keeps saying, well, and it's not funny, but it's like, you had a parachute on. How the hell could you not get out? And I'm thinking to myself, unless you've been in an airplane and been in that situation where you have that many people, I don't know if someone tried to get out. I don't know if someone tried to jump. I don't know if the door was already open. I don't know. It turned so fast. I don't even know how high it was off the ground, but it does make sense to think you got 12 people with parachutes on and they all died, including the pilot of that airplane crash. And my thoughts and prayers go out.
Because they were going to do a tandem jump, so these were people that obviously had some experience.
Yep. They sure were. And I've got several friends of mine. One of the people that was supposed to jump in that is a woman. She is actually the friend of another friend of mine who was friends with my ex that I know really, really well. This was like going to be her 6th jump. She was a school teacher up there and she didn't make it. So my thoughts and prayers go out to those people. But that's the kind of ongoing thing. Well, why the hell did they not? And I kept going back to that. Hey, what's the worst that can happen? The plane goes down. I mean, jump. You're good to go. And next thing you know, we've had one of the worst plane crashes.
The doors have to be open, and you have to be prepared for that. This looked like an emergency that just, there was nothing anybody could do.
Yep. I think we're going to be 9 weeks away from college football. I think that's going to be coming up on Thursday.
Yep. We had big news broke last night. Of course, the Sorsby situation is reached the conclusion, really the only logical conclusion it could reach, because Texas Tech was taking a stand that was they were defending the indefensible. Yep. There was no way that you could take this lame judge who'd been retired for 12 years recommendation. They were getting barraged from every direction. They were getting bombed worse than downtown Tehran. And finally they blinked, and Sorsby now will enter the NFL supplemental draft and see if anybody chooses him, but he will not be putting on a uniform for Texas A&M this year. So crisis averted. But the bottom line is the shine on the great savior of college football, Cody Campbell, who really revealed his true colors by fighting this thing and making Texas Tech not do the right thing right away. The shine's off him. And the NCAA, this is not a victory for them. They were beaten into the corner like they always are by a judge's ruling. They are still useless. They are still toothless. The NCAA needs to go away.
We actually had the athletic director for Texas Tech. His name's Kirby Hillcutt. We actually had him on Tony Kurre Radio last week. He is a friend with Mark Ingram. And we had him on directly to ask him, how can you? And he's like, listen, this is not our lawsuit. This was not the lawsuit from Indiana or Texas Tech or anyone else. We're going to stand behind our football player. We're going to let the procedure work out. Obviously, they're better off without them. Kid come from Cincinnati, had some big numbers, and of course took them to a playoff situation and over 7,000 yards of thing. Now you have to wonder if he bet on college, and he's already admitted that he's an addict. Do you want to take a chance on him in the National Football League?
But Tony, is he admitting he's an addict to get out of trouble? That's my question. Because here's the thing: if you're Okay, I want you to go back in time 15 years ago when you were 18 or 19 years old.
Yeah.
And if somebody handed you $2 million to be the backup quarterback at Indiana as a freshman, and you had $2 million and FanDuel and DraftKings and all these people are talking about sports and sports betting and how much fun it is and everything else. If I had $2 million, I was 18, I probably would have been betting everything in sight because money doesn't mean anything at that point. It's just chips to play a game. It's just like gaming. I could say my youngest son, his whole teenage life, and to this day he still plays video games whenever he gets a chance. It's still one of his greatest enjoyments, but that's just a game that you play, because when you get that much money, the money doesn't matter. Well, what the hell? I got $2.3 million in my bank account. I lost $500 tonight.
Sure.
Who cares?
Yeah. What's the big deal?
They're just chips. They're just points to play. Yeah. And I'm guilty of this sometime myself. And I'm not independently wealthy, but I like to play horse races a little bit. Especially the big races.
Sure.
But I don't. I always worry about having a little bit of money aside to be able to do that. But I don't really sweat it when I lose because it's just your entries. The money that you put up is just your ability to play the game, and playing the game to me is more fun. I'm not really doing it for profit. If I'm lucky enough to cash a ticket sometime, that's great. But, the bottom line is, I think for an 18-year-old, I think we need to look at this whole NIL system. They're paying some kids. Luther Burden, who was at Missouri, started getting checks in the 9th grade from Missouri. That's crazy. Can you imagine being 14 years old and go out the mailbox and, woohoo, I got a $25,000 check today?
It's crazy. And the fact that, and I think this is kind of an eyebrow raiser a little bit too, the fact that they said that, or at least is documented through him, that he made over 9,000 bets. That sounds like a lot of bets. It is a lot of bets, but I'll never forget one year I went to Vegas, and I got to let you fly. I went to Vegas one year and I got the player's card. I was at Caesars and I was playing slot machines. I was playing $25 tables and $10 tables. I never went over 25, and rarely did I play 25 because it goes really, really fast. But I was playing blackjack. And when I left, I'd amassed a certain amount of points, and they told me that I had gambled over 6 figures for the week. And wow. I said, what do you mean 6? Because I only brought $2,000 with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's impossible. But that is every single bet that I made cumulatively put over there was over 100. Think about that. A $2,000 player. It's not was over 100. And there were times where I played for 2 or 3 straight days. You win, you lose, you win, you lose, you win, you lose. I was up a little bit by the end of the week. And because of that, I was betting a little bit more. And I thought to myself, my gosh, dude, that's crazy. I didn't have $100,000 in my pocket. I had $2,000. So to sit there and say 9,000 bets is a lot. It is a lot. But for a college kid, man, when you've got 20 or 30 different prop bets going on the Super Bowl, and it goes by quick. So we'll see what happens. I hope things work out well for him. I hope his true gift of his arm and his intelligence. I know he's a smart kid. I won't hold it that he's against Cincinnati because I'm a Xavier Muskie. We don't have a football team anyway. I won't hold that against him, but I do hope things work out, and now it's safe to plplay Texas Tech again.
Well, the sad thing is every time he throws an interception from now on, if he does get a shot in the NFL, people are going to say, well, he's doing that on purpose. He's stained, he's scarred. It's too bad. But the
thing is, if he does that, he ain't going to be in the league very long.
Well, that's right.
So because
you can look at Art Schleister, who was the exact same model back in the day when betting wasn't accessible. Yep. Art Schleister was a compulsive gambler and has admitted to being that. And Art Schleister was the number 1 draft pick by the Colts. Never had any kind of productive pro career because he just had that stigma he could never overcome.
That's when they used to crack kneecaps, man. They used to still go after it. Man.
Oh yeah,
he got some.
Break your thumbs.
I actually did several radio shows with Art, and actually had him on our show on the opening drive several times. I felt for the guy because he was like that shark in Finding Nemo when he starts smelling the blood in the water and his eyes get dilated. You're like, you could see Art, man, as soon as he got near a casino. Now, I can't imagine being addicted to that stuff. I mean, there's casinos in every major city you go to. Maybe that's why people should move to Birmingham.
Online, I mean, even in places where it's prohibited,
and every time you turn the
readily accessible.
If you watch sports, it's impossible to get away from a commercial. Every commercial is a gambling commercial. Every commercial, even ESPN owns it. So, all right, Birmingham Racecourse Casino. We're going to get after it again this weekend. Looking forward to more college football talk. Got a lot to get into. We'll do the Kip perspective. The Legend's going to go back to his cave. I'll do a little bone fragments. We're going to be throwing back, and of course, Keefer giving some more plays. Cannot wait for college football season. I've got my what did I get? Someone sent me a magazine the other day. Is it Lundy's? What is that?
Oh, Lindy's, yeah, Lindy's. Great.
I got Lindy's. I used to get the Phil Steele thing. I don't think they have those in the stores anymore. I don't know what happened to that, but anyway, so
you got Phil has gone big time. You got to order from Phil.
Yeah,
but Athlon and Lindy's are still readily available. And
Lindy's has Ohio State winning the national title,
of course,
in 2026, as many others do. And
Lindy, go out on the limb. Why don't you? They had 15 guys drafted in the NFL, Tony. That's got to hurt. Yeah. And I'll just tease something that I'm going to be saying until he shows me differently. I don't think Julian Sayin is the answer. Julian Sayin on the biggest stage last year melted and failed against Indiana in the Big Ten championship game and against Miami in the playoffs. Julian Sayin, I'm just saying, wasn't anything special.
And a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, what about Jeremiah Smith? You got one of the greatest wide receivers.
You got to get him the ball.
He's got to get him the ball. Exactly. Just because you have a great wide receiver and a great quarterback doesn't mean you win games. Ask the Cincinnati Bengals.
I mean, he's physically talented, but he's got to show me on the field. It's the same thing with Arch Manning. Exactly. I'm catching a lot of heat right now, and I know we got to go. I only ranked of the returning starters, Arch Manning the 6th best SEC returning starter. Everybody, that's crazy. Arch Manning, if his name was Arch Snodgrass, he wouldn't even be starting for Texas.
Well, the guy you had a good time talking about all year long is right there in the mix too, Trinidad Chambliss. You talked about Trinidad all year long. I remember you saying, who's this Trinidad cat? Next thing you know, he's back. He's won a court case as well. So he'll be back in the mix as well.
He is the number one returning SEC quarterback, in my opinion. And Arch Manning ranks behind 5 others. So, maybe he can show me. But I'm going to go by what I've seen on the field and not by what somebody's last name is.
Thank you very much. We'll do it again this Saturday morning, ABC 33, 40, 10, 30, 11 o'clock. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. I always love it.
All right, Tony, that was a grab bag. That was exactly what I had to do today.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.